The First Coast's most accurate forecast from the First Coast News Weather Team, certified by Weather Rate, sponsored by AC Designs.
All right, well, getting dark, and of course that always makes travel a little more treacherous, and where there's been some showers on I-95, but look at that traffic headed north. If you're going to be doing that, give yourself plenty of time. Maybe wait till tomorrow and daylight, although the showers will become more frequent and increasingly heavy through the day tomorrow. So if you're going to do that, do it early. All right, let's go to the latest from the National Hurricane Center. Again, this came in with their latest update from Recon. I can tell you Recon has now found a eye that's down to 7 miles wide. That is one narrow eye, folks, and typically the smaller the eye, the stronger the hurricane. So we talked about once it starts accelerating northeastward, then it will make the turn. We talked about why that's going to happen, but why is it going to go, if we've seen it already twice now, deep into a 5? Why are we confident? We're pretty confident that it's going to then become a 4 and a 3 before making landfall. Again, as a 3, that's still a major hurricane. That's a scientific term. As important as the 5 different categories are, each hurricane that's a 3, 4, or 5, that's exponentially worse. All right, let's go from Putnam County. We talked about Putnam County and then St. Johns County. 3 to 5 feet, just for those of you in St. Johns County, although every hurricane is different. I know many of you are comparing it. Now, Matthew was 5 to 7 as far as the storm surge right on the island. For those of you along the St. Johns River, Duval, Doctors Inlet, all the way down either side of Clay and St. Johns on down to Putnam, we're looking at about 2 to 4 feet, and Irma was 5 to 7. Again, everything's different, but just to give you some numbers to work on. So here's what we're looking at for Duval and Clay. Clay, you're closer to the hurricane. Duval, you're closer to the ocean. Notice we have dropped the rainfall down somewhat, and I feel confident that our winds will not be worse than this now because of the adjustment slightly south, but every mile helps us. And I'm a little more confident we might even not quite reach that 4-foot number. To put that in perspective, why that matters is if we were to receive 12 inches of rain and a 4-foot surge, we'd have widespread flooding, not just in the roads, but into homes and businesses. At least it won't be as widespread. We'll keep you updated on that. Farther to the north, and just a reminder, folks, we care about everybody in the First Coast, but if we're not spending as much time talking about you, that's good news. The weather will not be as bad. But still, with gusts of 55, especially right on the coast, talking I-95 east, Glen, Camden, Nassau, that's enough to maybe bring down some trees and some power outages. Out toward Lake City, up toward Waycross, Columbia and Ware counties are 2 hardest hit by Debbie and by Helene. You, basically a nice breeze. Now, we threw out a lot of numbers, and I'm going to talk about why we picked those numbers in particular. 40, that used to just be for marine interest, for gale warnings. But for us now, we know at sustained 40, bridges will be closed, but again, just for brief periods of time. And maybe we won't quite get to sustained. I do think that many of us in the yellow will have gusts to 60, and that's when we start to see trees coming down. We have some power outages. 60 mile per hour sustained, and that's what we're expecting for those of you, especially in the hurricane warning counties, even though that's not quite hurricane warning definition. That's widespread trees and power outages. So there's a big difference between gusts, as we had with Helene, and then 60 mile per hour sustained we're forecasting with Milton. Roof damage, extensive power line damage at sustained 75, and at least for now, we think that's going to stay south of those of you in St. Johns County and Putnam, even though you're under a hurricane warning. I want to also remind you, though, that farther to the north, even on the wider sections of the river in Duval, higher winds over the warmer waters because there won't be an inversion. So just keep that in mind. As far as why this hurricane will not be as strong, 2 reasons. Farther north to go, the more shear there's going to be, and the farther north it goes, the drier the air will be. Speaking of drier and cooler, again, folks, we're going to clear rapidly later Thursday, and by the early morning hours, how about lows in the 60s Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?